Let's talk about opening night. It's Saturday night against Southern Illinois. The Salukis, they're ranked number 11 in the FCS preseason poll. They went to the playoffs last year, took second place. Before we get to them, let's get to us. And the depth chart was announced earlier today. The starting quarterback is Jake Retzlaff or Gary Bohannon. That's how the depth chart reads. You can read anything you want into that. We've had both on this show. We've had weeks where we thought one has moved ahead of the other, and they've literally gone back and forth. And today they're going to continue to go back and forth as far as what the coaches want the general public to know. And they said, hey, look, on Saturday night when game day comes on the air, you'll know who the quarterback is. And
Kalani didn't rule out the idea that they both play. And we've talked about that for a couple weeks. I have to say, the depth chart when it came out, there's not a single surprise on here. Not one. Is there a surprise? There's not. When we've been talking about it for weeks, there's not a single
There's a
surprise
whole lot of ors.
Yeah.
Like this guy or this guy. This guy or this guy.
Yeah,
which
screams you know
depth.
what? When they say this or, even if you just take the guy that's the first or, I'm not surprised by any of it. It's who we thought would be in those positions come game one. We've been talking an awful lot about Tanner Wall the last couple weeks now. He just came out of nowhere, maybe the MVP on defense during fall camp. The biggest surprise, I think, and he's listed not as an or. He's starting at free safety, and he's earned that during fall camp. The 6'1", 200-pound redshirt junior has been the most assignment sound, and he's just been smacking people silly. Like, the guy's physical when the offensive guys are all talking about it. And they're talking like, what's up with Tanner Wall? Why is he trying to kill everybody? So let's hope he doesn't to the other team.
Why is he trying to kill everybody? Let me ask you about this quarterback situation. Then we got the forecast. We're going to hear from Kalani in a second before Gary Scheide and Larry Carr sit down with us in just a bit. If it's Retzlaff or if it's Bohannon, what's the difference come Saturday night against Southern Illinois? Is there one?
There's a little bit of a difference in emphasis probably. If it's Jake, Jake is more familiar with the offense. He ran the offense. He's been here for an entire year. Yeah. Actually a spring ball in a year, and 2 spring balls in a year, and played in 4 games. So he's more familiar with the offense. I think he can throw more at him. I think he's very adept at getting the team in and out of huddles, knowing where everybody's supposed to be, getting guys set up and running the offense efficiently. So I think he can do more things, more formations, motions, that kind of stuff. Jake is athletic, so he can run around, but I think you do more straight drop back stuff. When Gary's in the game, and let's say they play them both, when Gary's in the game, I think you'll see RPO, so run pass option type stuff and zone read type stuff with Jake, but you'll see more of it if Gary's in the game because it's 6'2" and 235. Well, he's 225 pounds. It lists him. I think he's 230, and one of the fastest guys on the team. He becomes one of the biggest running threats on the field when he's in the game. Yeah. And I think you'll see them move him around even in the passing game. So get him on the edge, roll him out, bootlegs, those kinds of things. So I think the emphasis is a little different. It's the same offense with a little different emphasis depending on who's in the game.
I wouldn't be surprised if on the second possession, whoever doesn't start comes in.
That could happen.
And why not? And if there was a night to try it out against Southern Illinois.
Yeah. Or maybe you give the first guy a quarter and then say, hey, you're getting reps in the second quarter to whoever the second guy is. Yeah. It's interesting because they haven't even talked to the team about it, like who's going to be the guy. And Kalani and Aaron have said, we have an idea who it is, but.
And Chase Roberts said.
Why do we need to announce it?
He said in the media veils today that he thought the receivers kind of knew. But if anyone would know the rotations of what they're seeing, it would probably be those receivers.
Yeah, they would.
But they're seeing a little bit of everybody. And we're not trying to sandbag because we asked Kalani the same questions.
Right.
They just don't want to announce who it's going to be until game day, and we'll find out. By the way, mostly sunny on Saturday, high of 87, low of 62. That's like ideal for the end of August because 87 is probably when we come on the air at 4:00.
That's right. I hope we have some cooling fans behind us.
Down near kickoff.
See, the nice part about this show is I can wear shorts, but we can't wear shorts at that show.
No, we've got some obligations. Live stream folks, who do you think should be the quarterback? The Cougars are a 14-point favorite. That's the latest I've seen.
It started as a 16.5.
And then it was even higher in some places.
And then went down.
And they came down. No one knows the quarterback, and so they're going, it's going to be a low-scoring defensive game or whatever.
Yeah. Luke Jardine. So Mark Actual says, Jake. Luke Jardine says, I hope it's Gary Bohannon.
And how about Robbie saying,
let's keep it a secret
until we score? That's a good strategy. By the way, the Cougars going to be in all royal helmets, royal shirts, royal pants with the white trim, and the white face mask. It'll be the first time that they've ever put this combination together. We've seen them all in royals, but it'll be royals with the face mask.
That's right.
And so that's going to be the look under the lights on Saturday. I guess the sunlight will be at 6 o'clock kick, so the lights will have kicked in by halftime.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, we had some guys that wore white face masks with royal uniforms, but not with a royal helmet as well.
Right.
So this is the first time that it's all 100% royal with white trim and a white face mask, and everybody's going to be uniform in these uniforms. But
BYU's lost 5 straight games. They're in no position to go, I think we got this one. We're gonna work on them, and then half the week we're gonna start on SMU. I think they got to go all in, because the worst possible thing could be having lost 6 straight games
to go to
by
SMU.
Losing on Saturday, go to SMU.
And here's the thing: this is an FCS program. When you start to read about Southern Illinois, you go, "Wow, they've just had a lot of turnover," and they, But this is what. You talked about Nick Hill. Nick Hill's been doing this at the FCS level for a long time now, for 9 years. He's had tremendous success at that level. That's why with all that turnover, they're still ranked number 11 in the preseason poll, because they know he's used to turnover. This is what he does. He brings people in. Now remember, this is a team that has 9 FBS transfers that have come in during the offseason. 4 of these are Power 4 transfers. They got a DB from Florida, a DB from Illinois, a running back from Ohio State, and a wide receiver from Wisconsin. So these are big-time players. Some of these guys played at those universities and just want to maybe come be a star and be the feature. And so he's done a great job every year of taking transfers from both the FBS and FCS level and molding them into a team very quickly. That's why there's so much respect here. Having said that, they've got a big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
I mean, BYU's unsettled at quarterback, but at least Jake played last year 4 games, and Gary's been was a P5 at the time, but P4 starter, and won a Sugar Bowl and won a Big 12 championship. Their starting quarterback has started 37 straight games, and he graduated.
6 years. We wish him the best.
Yeah, that's a very comfortable position to be in, to have a guy coming back every year.
Yeah.
And this year, for the first time in a long time, they're unsettled at quarterback. They've got a new guy.
We're going to get your keys in a second, but I would think BYU would pounce on them defensively, and that may be the case. But defense is where the Salukis have been really good.
Yeah.
And they lost 6 guys from last year's group, but every year they seem to be pretty good.
Philosophically, Nick has a really good handle on what he wants to do defensively. They have an identity. They're really physical. And so they just reload every year. Having said that, they only have 4 starters coming back on the defensive side of the ball. And one of those starters, they're counting, didn't play at all last year because of an injury. So they're counting. They really only have 3 starters from last year's team. That team was one of the top defenses in the FCS, ranked as high as 4 in a bunch of different categories. And so you just can count on them play. It's kind of like Kyle Whittingham. When Kyle Whittingham has wholesale changes at Utah, you go, well, they're still going to be good on defense. When are they not good on defense, right?
Yeah.
But the 4 starters, 2 are safeties, and 1 is a linebacker. The cornerback is the one that sat out last year. So it's really all in the back end. So a completely new defensive line. On the offensive side, 6 starters. But here's an interesting thing. If you're going to have 6 starters back, you wish you had your quarterback back, but you don't. They have 4 of their 5 offensive linemen back from last year. A really productive offensive line. They're big and physical, all over 300 pounds. They'll match up pretty good size-wise with BYU, which isn't always the case when you play an FCS opponent. But 1 wide receiver and 1 tight end.
And depth is usually what separates
all
the
new
FCS.
Backfield.
Yeah.
All new backfield. New running backs, new quarterback. Most of the wide receivers group is new. As mentioned, they have some transfers that have come in. But what do I expect out of them? I expect them to be, even though they only have really 3 returning starters on defense, I just expect him to be solid.
Last year in the FCS, they were number 4 in total defense, number 4 in scoring defense, number 5 in rushing defense, and number 7 in pass efficiency defense. A challenge for any offense that's trying to figure itself out. And that's kind of where BYU is. But on the other side, they were 74th in total offense, 61st in scoring offense, 19th in rushing offense. And again, their quarterback's gone, their running back's gone. It should be a typical decent FCS team that comes in, and if you give them the football, they're going to take you into the second half.
Right.
And Montana State went into Albuquerque and rallied from 17 down and beat Broncos Lobos. But if you give a team some help, anyone could beat anybody.
Right.
But pound for pound and line for line, this should be the opportunity for BYU to work out some kinks and to get ready for SMU. I mean, in theory, that's what this should be.
BYU should be bigger, stronger, faster,
deeper
at almost every position on the field, especially when you start to go to the second level.
Boyd Lake has an interesting comment. Neither QB is a team captain, ? I think that's a failure of waiting so long to name a starter. We should say, Boyd, that they're on the executive committee. Both quarterbacks were voted.
They call them co-captains.
On their co-captains. So they're not the big four, we'll call it, the main captains, but they were both voted by their teammates to like the next level of captainship. And so while you make a valid point, and they have waited a long time to publicly name a starter, the relationship with the players, and we've been around it and we've seen it, both those guys are good. They're good with the guys.
And when should a quarterback that really has never been a starter be a captain?
Yeah.
Like 1984, our offensive captains were
Glenn Kozlowski
and Craig Garrick.
Yeah.
Two guys that have been starting
Not Bosco.
Two guys that have been starting for a couple of years.
Interesting.
Now, the next year, Robbie was a captain because he was a returning starter at quarterback. Yeah. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think your quarterback has to be your captain, especially if he's not a returning starter and hasn't been there and hasn't proven, so.
All right, here's Blaine's keys to the game. Every week we're going to roll out 3 keys to the game, and then we'll follow up the following week. We'll probably have this sponsored by somebody big, because who wouldn't want to be involved with your keys to the game?
Yes.
All right, key number 1
my key number
for
1,
Saturday night.
Turnover margin +1 or better.
+1 or better in turnover.
I'd really like to see +2 or +3 in this game, meaning BYU forces at least one more turnover than they give up. I'd like to see him +2. So I'd like to see him +2.
Before you go to number 2, Thomas from Goldendale, Washington, checking in. That's the first time we've had Goldendale represented on the live stream. So thanks, Thomas. All right, key number 2.
Average 5.5 yards per carry in the run game.
That's 2 yards better than last year.
Right. Against this team. That's what I expect. And remember, this was a good defensive football team last year, but there's a lot of new faces on that front.
Yeah. And it's going to be a full house. And, they're in the big time. And
I expect the line to be much sounder with what they're doing. And I'm believing in this running back core. I like this combination of L.J. Martin and Miles Davis and Hinckley Ropati. And I think they all bring a little bit something different to the run game. So if this offensive line can be really solid, I think they can average 5.5 yards per carry.
Okay, that sounds good.
So turnover margin +1 or better, average 5.5 yards per carry, and then
key number 3.
You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm writing these down because we'll follow up.
I don't know. I'm going to have to be the one that determines it, because there's no statistic. No stupid errors by the quarterbacks.
Let me write that down. No stupid errors.
So
that'll be open for Cougar Nation to debate.
And the reason I put that in there is, like, I got thinking about this.
So no 100-yard pick sixes.
So if Jake comes out and he throws the ball and it hits Chase in the chest and it bounces up and it gets intercepted,
that's not on the quarterback.
That's not a stupid error. He threw the ball to the right receiver in the right spot and the receiver blew it. Now, if Chase or Gary comes out and they roll all the way to the sideline on second and they're 3 yards from a first down, and they get to the sideline, and instead of just stepping out of bounds or sailing the ball over somebody's head out of bounds, they decide to throw back in the middle of the field and it gets picked off. That's a stupid error.
Okay.
Right? So making bad choices, and I'm talking about horrifically bad choices. So I'll have to determine. I'll watch the game, and we'll decide whether or not the quarterback's made stupid errors.
Yeah, I hope we're not talking about a lot of those.
No, let's not. I hope we're not talking about any stupid errors.
You know what? And later we'll dive into a little more college football. But SMU lucked out at Nevada.
Yes, they did.
And that surprised me. And all of a sudden, I mean, we thought BYU would be competitive in Dallas anyway next week. But there's no reason they shouldn't go down there and beat them.
And Nevada, like SMU until the fourth quarter, struggled to move the ball against Nevada. Yeah. Nevada gave them fits. And so BYU can look at what Nevada did. They've got a good scout on them.
And Nevada's not great. They're picked last in the Mountain West.
So, it's interesting that SMU's getting a lot of preseason love, but they didn't look phenomenal. Now there's another week. They have a game this week too, so we'll see.
Hey, how about